Good morning. Welcome to the High Performance Herd. We're lucky today to have Jeremy Barker, the CEO of Murphy Door, with us. An awesome story. He and I have had a chance to spend a little bit of time learning about kind of his rise to um, and fall, I guess is fair,
Yeah, both. Yeah.
in many instances. And I think it's fairly typical of most entrepreneurs. Everyone wants to point to the like, oh, well, here's the success. And I'm like, yeah, most of it's, an overnight sensation that takes us a long time to get and a lot of lessons. And Jeremy, you have some of those. So welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you that we get to dive into some of the stuff that we talked about a week ago or so.
Absolutely. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So I always dive in or start, Jeremy, like what drew you to leadership? I know you were a firefighter, you've done a bunch of things, you've run multiple companies, but some point early in your life, it was like, man, I want to lead. I want to grow something bigger than me. I want to um, have an impact on others, and whatever the right way for you to talk about that. And where did it come from?
I wish it was that romantic, probably. I mean, it sounds like a really good dude there. That's like, I want to have an impact on others. But honestly, like ever since I was little in school, I was good at school. I graduated with honors. I mean, that's fine. But I didn't try. I hated to be told what to do. I didn't like it. I didn't like school. I thought it was boring. It was slow. Like it just didn't have the pace. So I think less as much that I wanted to be a leader, more as much as I didn't want to be led. Right. So it's not like I wanted to influence other people. That wasn't really the big deal. I just couldn't stand being told what to do. And unfortunately, in my young arrogance, which cost me my first bankruptcy, I felt like everybody was pretty stupid. I'm like, I'm much smarter. Just like I think my 15-year-old's that person right now. Like she's smarter than most and I love her to death. But we go through those stages where everyone else is wrong and we're right and we'll show you how come. And then these experienced parents or mentors just don't understand it. They're not there.
Well, Jeremy, you referenced something. I do a lot of work with companies and personality assessment. And one of the things we point to is people with high autonomy want autonomy. What that means is they don't really want bosses. They
Right.
want to they want to drive something independently, go build something, go drive results. And you clearly reference that. So that serves you well. You go off and start a couple things, give the audience kind of the here's the Cliff Notes version of Jeremy's story, which is hard
Yeah, Cliff
from
Notes is,
a
but that's all good. I'll capture
yeah,
it. But
yeah.
so I've had a hell of a ride. Like I've lost, I think if you're doing unit count, lost more than I've won. But if I'm doing dollar count right now, because I understand the cycle, I'm winning more than I've lost. So, but again, appreciate the roller coaster. I appreciate the waves. I appreciate the mountain and I appreciate the cliff. Like I respect them all because there's lessons on both sides of that. So needless to say, started really young. My dad was a white collar stockbroker. He was the VP of EF Hutton and Piper Jaffray and Hopwood. And then, so it was a really cool lifestyle. Market crash in 87. We went from money to no money really fast, but I only understood white collar. And I did know that I had friends, parents that were in blue collar work. And I knew I didn't want to do blue collar work. Right. So I decided, hey, look, I was a mess. Like through high school, my parents got divorced young. That's not their fault. Like I was still a mess before that. So let's be honest. I was always pushing boundaries. Like some people blame their parents. Came from a single family household, whatever. We didn't have a car for 2 years while I was in high school. So whatever. But that being said, it's not their thing. Like I was always a problem kid. So I came out of high school and I said, hey, look, I don't really want to, I want to go to college, but I'd like fire and EMS. Got my EMT early, right in high school as my senior year. I was lucky enough to go to a high school that paid for that. Was doing some other work, working for a freight company, went and tested for the fire department. The freight company was paying $7.50 an hour. The fire department was paying $6 and change. I got the little job and I thought, this is worse. I'm taking a 25% pay cut to do fire. So I only did that for a few weeks. And then I got in more trouble. My mom says, you got to get the hell out of my house. So I moved to New York for a few months. Did some table waiting. My buddies had come to work for my dad in construction, which was the blue collar work that I didn't want to do, but I wanted the hell out of New York. I'm like, I was not in New York City. I was in Appalachian, New York, which is kind of like Binghamton area. Lovely place, but it was the winter of 93, which was like the worst winter ever. Like it was terrible. Like I moved from Utah to the more snow. Long story short, did some construction. It was brutal. Everybody quit from this guy. But Dan Cheney was probably the most incredible human when it comes to work. Not fun to work for, but taught me lessons like bite, swallow, chew later. Like, we don't have time to eat. Everybody quit him because he was such a hard worker that it was just him and I, and we did my first 70 hours. Like, he fell asleep in one single shift. We were doing Smiths and Albertson turnovers. So they'd take out the registers and replace them. And everybody left him, but it was still the two of us. Like, he lost a half a dozen dudes. So we just worked. And I'm like, how do we work? I'm falling asleep everywhere. He got in 2 car accidents while we were driving. He'd fall asleep at the wheel. But I came out, I said, dude, I got to leave. This is too much for me. I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to do white collar stuff. So then the neighbor asked me to build a shed. So I built him a shed because I was now a pro framer, because I did a few months of construction on Smiths that didn't really require framing, but nonetheless, I felt like I could do it. Went down to a local shed maker, saw how they were doing things, noticed that the shed door was a little bit too warped, like, because they were just using 2x4s to give the structural integrity to the plywood. So I'm like, oh, if I do a metal frame on the inside of that shed door, that'll fix that problem and we'll have something unique. Did that. A few other neighbors wanted it. I'm like, hey, this is pretty good. I'm making $1,500 to $2,000 in a week. Gross income, right? This is part of the lessons I didn't know, that there's a big difference between gross income and net income. So this is the 20 or 18-year-old version of me, 19, I guess. I guess before my birthday, but long story short, you start learning these little lessons. I'm like, man, I made $2,000. No, you didn't. You made 200, but whatever. I thought, well, my mom was always a hustler. My dad, after the market crash, sat on the couch for 7 years. My mom worked her ass off, like doing hair, doing dolls. She is French, a beautiful human, super direct. Like, some people just can't deal with her. They either love her or they hate her, which is a lot like me. They either like me or they hate me, and either way. The good news is when you can figure out that it doesn't matter and you don't care, then it's a pretty good life. So I went down to the state fair. She always hustled doing stuff selling, which was a really cool place because I learned from a really young age how to sell at state fair, home shows, lawn and garden. Like, they were selling, my mom sold dolls and blankets and whatever trinket she could buy and sell for a markup. She was chasing gun shows, even like not even selling guns, but just trinkets for gun shows. So we pitched at the table. That was the way we helped contribute because my dad wasn't working. And I thought, I'll do this same thing for sheds. And I sold $66,000 worth of sheds at the state fair in 10 days. So I got 30 or 50% down. So I ended up with 30 grand. So I thought, hey, I'm going to invest in the company. So I'm going to go buy a brand new truck. That's a really good idea with that 30 grand, not realizing you had a whole bunch of stuff to do with that 30 grand. So that was downfall one. That I grew to, to keep this in a tidy spot, up to $20 million in the next 3 years. I signed Home Depot as a vendor. I got, we put the sheds from inside on the wall, which you'll remember, on a display to the outside in the lawn and garden department so that people could see our frame doors. Like, it was pretty massive and pretty quick I still had a huge D2C vendorship. Like, we put plants in Phoenix, Vegas, and a couple other things. So my direct to consumer sales were really strong. But my Home Depot account's kind of what led the way on top line. Again, this is top line. When you say you make that kind of money, this isn't my net income, but my 20-year-old mind, it was. And I used it like it was. Like, hey, let's party. I got all this money coming in. This is dumb, Long story short, it was a challenge. And I had some really good friends. When Home Depot signed, it's not like here and you can handle Home Depot, by the way. And this is something I didn't know. I thought Home Depot was 21st South and 3rd West in Salt Lake, but it wasn't. Home Depot was at almost, or right at 500 stores at the time. And we were doing Western region takedown. So the merchant that happened to be at the Home Depot store kind of chuckled when I said, I don't know why you're sending me a vendor box. You owe me a vendor box. You're my customer. I'm not your customer. Why do I have to fill out paperwork? That kind of process is what was trying to go through my head. And when he said, hey, I need you to do all these stores, I'm like, dude, it's me and Troy and a buddy named Bo. Like, I got Bo Rudy with, like, I don't know, we're manufacturing in my mom's driveway. So I got cited for manufacturing in a residential neighborhood. I got cited for contracting without a license. I got cited for contracting without insurance. Like, who tells you this in the 90s? Like, all the stuff you need to start a business. Like, we have the internet today, but back then it's like, oh, you just start a business. I didn't know what you needed a contractor for. I wasn't building a house. I'm building a freaking shed. Why do I need a building permit? Like, so good enough. I mean, at least back then they were well enough that my citations were a couple $100 and then they taught you how to do it. But there wasn't like a manual. We didn't have Instagram to learn the basic startup things. You didn't have great podcasts to listen to kind of walk you through the process. But I had great influence on MTV, so then I just chased all the parties. That was what I learned, right? So I was like, hey, I'll just go to every party because there's money. Burned it all up, burned the place down, kind of in hypothetical sayings, and didn't pay my bills. The proverbial winter hit, wiped out all the money because, cash cures all things, right? That's something that Bill Hamlin, he's an old EVP for Home Depot, he's on our board, would say. but also cash hides all things. So when you have a significant amount of inflow or cash flow, you cannot, sometimes you can't see what's truly occurring because you're not as stressed because you have cash flow. It is a musical chairs game. Sometimes we get blinded by the cash flow and we feel invincible, but I want you to know it is a temporary shield, and that shield will fall no matter what. So the thing I learned from my 20s to now is like we need to have a lever game that says when, not if the shield falls, when the shield falls, what is it that we need to do to turn left, to turn right, just accepting and appreciating the pivot. Like it's not going to happen. It's going to happen, but how do we make and take advantage of pivots? Like, so that was really something that came out of it. And then post that, I lived in my car for a year, suicidal, for a bit. I was my worst enemy for 6 months, but I used that time to go through and just be angry at myself. We've all done this. Like, I should have never done this. I wish I'd have never talked to Dave Quick. He should have, you know what I mean? Those kind of things. You blame everybody else for a while. Debts days fall, like it bills fall. Like we do everything we can to take accountability. And one other thing I learned during that living in my car process is you'd go through your checklist of all the shit you did wrong. You're like, hey, look, number one is accountability. Like 100% of every decision, no matter what, like even to the point if you get in a car accident driving down the road, you had a participation. You made a decision to go to the store, to go wherever. You made the decision to be in that lane. You made the decision to be like, we have participation, whether, it's your fault you hit by a car, whatever, it's still, there's something involved. So then you look at it and say, okay, what was my participation level? What could I have done different for my part? Like, and as soon as you start appreciating instead of avoiding the accountability process, you start to get better. And then the next thing is like taking inventory of all the bad things that I did in, moral side and in business. And then not only be angry at yourself for a minute, that's okay. It's okay to be like frustrated with letting yourself down, but it's also okay to forgive yourself and say, hey, look, what are the lessons that I took? Am I okay with it? And then there becomes like this switch that says, I'm okay. Like, I understand it. And the biggest thing is I understand it and I won't do it again. And as long as you hold true to what lesson it is and you have a mental note and a little checkbox, and let me be honest, I've done a lot of shit twice and maybe 10 times that I shouldn't have done again. I'm not trying to be like this guy that says, I won't do that again. And I never do. Should I test that water every 13 seconds? But I do respect it and appreciate it. I might not stick my finger in the water as long. I'm like, is it still the way that I remember? Yep, it's been 15 years. Okay, I still don't like that water. And then from there, I came back, started building houses for a general contractor, a home builder. Then I started my own deal, built that up from a house building to commercial construction and underground excavation stuff. And that built up to about 30 million in top line. Like we had a big crew, big excavation. And then this time the banks went bankrupt, right? So that wiped out everybody. I felt no guilt. The first bankruptcy was humiliating. That's why I moved in my car. I didn't want my friends to see me, make fun of me, because those friends are pretty shallow, right? We have this, they're there for a reason. You're taking them to every party and you're buying their drinks and dinner and whatever. But this other piece, you really realize that when this time when the bank went bankrupt, it wasn't really my decisions. Now, again, there's some accountability here. I didn't push further to make sure that the people they were lending to were qualified. Are the loans these banks drafting really good banks or good loans, or are they just doing pulse loans, meaning checking people's pulses for debt? Like I didn't know that that was a thing, and I don't think the world knew. So again, it's not that didn't have accountability. It's I didn't feel bad. So there's some stuff. And then from there, I went back to the fire department, and then I, got my degree in paramedicine. Well, I had a license in paramedicine, and then I just did that from 2000. Well, I went bankrupt in 10, but I started playing the EMS game in 7 as the work, 8 as the work started to go down. I picked up some volunteer and part-time stuff, and then I went full-time. So then that got me into the Murphy Door world about 2012, and that was a part-time job to my full-time fire till the end of 2016 when I converted to Murphy Door, which is, one of the big lessons that I had from before is never take the milk from the baby, which means like if I have a brand new startup, and most people do this, and even it's funny because Damon John and I are pretty good buddies. We have some disagreements here. Like they want you all in on the business. And I'm not that guy. Like, I still think you should be 100% all in the business, 40, 50 hours a week, at least on the business. But you should also be all in on your job, which is 40 or 50 hours a week. So if you're a soft guy that's trying to get to $1 million a year or a $10 million a year or $100 million a year, you're not going to be doing it if you start a company. I use this simple example. You put $10,000 into a business for startup. Your goal is to do 100,000 a year. You need your 10,000 back to pay your 401k, and you only have 10% margins. You literally have zero to get to that 100,000 again. So then you're like, okay, I need to leave that 10,000 in, unless you have a marketing budget built in before, which by the way, you should. But let's say you have 10% net margin and 10% marketing budget. This is just for simple people and simple math, not simple people, but a simple equation for people that are thinking about this. I'm going to take 10,000 on a credit card or 10,000 on my 401k, which I suggest not credit card. You could do credit card. I've done it, but, and it was successful for Murphy Door. I did Amex, but, I would say you get $10,000, you put it in, you grow it to 100 grand. In that 100 grand, you have 10% in marketing to 15%. I do 20 on a startup. I give all in on marketing because you can have the Beatles in concert at the Delta Center and no one would come if you don't tell them you're there or they're there. So at the end of the day, I'm like 10 and 10. For this example, I pay myself back the 10,000 that I took out of my 401k. I have a $10,000 marketing budget. How much sales would I do theoretically if my cost per click's the same? 100 grand. So what's your growth model? It's not. It's going to be 100 grand. And they're like, Jeremy, how did you grow from, we did 30,000, 150,000, 1.1 million, 2.5 million, 5 million. You know what I mean? Like, how do you grow that way? Well, I can guarantee you it's not by paying yourself first. Don't pay yourself payroll out of your business. This is a second job. I guarantee you it's not paying yourself back. It's dedication. It's ramen. It's your power being out every other month. And if you don't frame your mindset that I'm ready for this type of battle for 5 years, and I'm not saying everybody has this, but if you frame your mindset to that, when it happens, it doesn't hurt. You're like, oh, no, I expected it.
So Jeremy, I mean, meteoric climb, fall. It's interesting. There's a lot of what I would call curiosity. Like, well, how do I create a better door? Your origin story for Murphy Door, which you haven't shared, which I want you to. There's a unique um, pursuit for you that is different than some. You know, talk about the origin story of Murphy Door. Talk about how you've come up with it, because you frame it as like, well, no big deal. I created a metal door for the sheds. Hey, no big deal. I changed what was everyone hanging on the wall. And these are all like, hey, you breeze by them, but they're part of the reason of your success, if not a lot of it.
Yeah, and I guess as you say that, it's like Murphy Door was the number one indoor product at the International Builder Show by the National Association of Home Builders. Like, I guess there is that. But so for me, and then now the shed doors are international. Every wooden shed has the metal frame door inside, and internationally, every shed sits in the lawn and garden department. And I guess I do brush by that, but really the way they were displaying before is stupid. They couldn't see my door frame. Two, they couldn't see the space. So I get to good points. And I was 19 when I convinced Home Depot to change the model, right? That's the largest home improvement retailer. But again, I don't tap myself on my back. And here's,
I mean, but Jeremy, there's patents, there's a
yeah, I have
curiosity
lots.
for you. Yeah, there's a curiosity behind this that you may be minimizing. And again, I don't know, but it hit me in your story like, no, I've come up with new ideas. And you're framing it as, well, I was a dumb 18-year-old kid. I'm like, no, or a brilliant 18-year-old kid. Or again, I don't want to have a boss. I'm going to move where I want. I'm going to go do this thing.
So
Um,
what I think you're asking, so I've always been, this is a terrible way to put it, but I don't mean it in a negative light. I've never been satisfied with whatever. Like it is okay. And this, now it's not like, this could be better. This is a stupid thing. Like, why is it like that? And ever since I was little, it was that way. And nothing made sense the way it was. It felt like it was at 80% or 50%. Like, what if they only did this, it would be that much better. Same thing for the sheds, as you could see. First time you had an opportunity to be self-led, you say, hey, I could fix that. When it came to the door side, so the origin of that is I'm a broke fire guy. Literally, my net check, and I say this on every podcast, and I have since I started, it was $762. And by the way, I have a funny story that one of my buddies called me out on. It was freaking great. I'm going to share it to you because he called me on Saturday. Bo Rudy, I love you. And there's your name. I'm dropping it for you. I love you, brother. Bo Rudy, help me grow. So I'm giving him that. He's like, you've never said my name, bro. So here it is. There you go. Hey, I'm getting a little teary because it was such a good call. Needless to say, I had no money. $52. I'm like, look, I have a house that's 1,750 square feet, which I still have today. That's what I live in. And I have a theater room downstairs. I have little kids, 3 kids at home at the time. Had I guess Annie was 4, Presley was 6-ish, 7. I wanted to build a theater room. Now we live in a neighborhood right out of Park City. So there is real theater rooms. And then there's a theater room, like 9 by 11. And come up to it. Love to have you at the house. I'll show you the house or the room. I'm like, I know I can't create the theater experience out of this theater. However, I want to create an experience that, by the way, 4-year-olds and 6-year-olds don't give two craps. It could have been out of cardboard box. They don't care. It's like, what's the experience we can create? So I wanted to create a ticket booth door that they could just stick their little head out, and like that Zoltar ticket booth, like the fortune teller thing. And I'm thinking, well, I saw my little girls as the fortune teller. They'd open the door, give their friends a ticket, and at least they could open some cool ticket booth door. And then that would be something cool. Now, I had seen these bookcase style doors before, so that wasn't a natural instinct. There was another guy that was doing some bookcases, and I thought, well, what could I do to integrate something different? Well, when I started doing it, I started using regular hinges. That doesn't work. A piano hinge, that doesn't work. And I'm like, well, this math doesn't make sense. You're putting 350 pounds on the side of a door with 6 screws on the side that just peels the door off. So I needed to create a different hinging mechanism. So I'll give Rixson some credit. They had a pivot hinge. That was what it was. However, at the time, it took mortising. And mortising's where you have to carve out the hinge and put it in the hole, and it has to fit perfectly. Dude, I'm a framer, not a cabinet guy. So I've never built a cabinet in my life until this thing. So I'm like, well, I don't have a mortise machine and I have no money. So I'm going to create a hinge that doesn't require mortising. And I'm going to use the concept off of a Traco bucket where they can pull the pin, move the angle of attack on a Traco bucket. I could do the same thing on a hinge system. I could make it a left hand, right hand, in swing, out swing, center pivot, just depending on where the point of access sits. I can change clearances, change action, and have one hardware set. That's what you do when you're cheap, right? It's like, I don't have the money, but if I create one hinge that does it for everything, that'll be awesome. Like, if I can do that, that'd be great. So then I just did that. Now, of course, I could have just paid somebody to do the door by the time I got this patent through. Like, I had to go find a designer that's into mechanical design. And then I'm like, oh, that's cool. So literally spent about $5,000 trying to get a hinge done when I could have just paid somebody to mortise the top and bottom of a board. But I felt like there was an opportunity here that there was a lot of people that aren't cabinet guys that could probably do something like this. And the principle, once I got it done, I'm like, this is freaking awesome. I'm going to create this hardware set. And I didn't want to be a cabinet guy. The Murphy Door started as a hardware hinge company. Well, all we wanted to do was hardware, not cabinets. It would be a perfect side job to Fire, which still to this day is my favorite job I've ever had. Like, I love that work. I love the people most of the time and most of the people, but I love that job. And so I didn't ever want to leave. And I thought, look, I could do these made in the USA. I could find a vendor that manufactures them, packages and ships them, and I can just work on web sales. So the first year I made 30,000 in hardware sales. And by the way, at the time I made 500% margin from who was making it. So, you make 30%, you made 24,000 bucks, almost doubled my income on 30 grand. Like, this is an awesome piece. Keep in mind, when I say double my income, I took $0. I took $0, asked my wife, ask everybody here from Murphy Door until we paced $5 million. And when I say pace $5 million, when we maintained 400,000 or greater a month for 90 days, then I took my first check. And why is it 5 million? Well, I'd done the math backwards and said, what would it take that I could have my objectives met without hurting the growth trajectory of Murphy Door? And it takes about 5 million for most businesses before you can start paying. By the way, it was 50,000, 1%, not 10%. Paid myself 1% and gave myself the same benefits that I got the fire department. So I did not give myself a little bit of a take-home raise because I didn't have to pay PFFU and IFF. That gave me that. But at the same time, my house power, we were making that a month. And I want you to talk about discipline. And you can talk to my wife about this. Her name's Shannon, beautiful woman, dealt with me a lot on this stuff. We would have money in the bank for Murphy Door, and I'd pull home into my driveway and I'd have a pink tag on the door and the garage door opener wouldn't work. I'm like, oh, is the power off again? And she's like, yeah, every other month. And it's really, really hard when you have a checking account over here with a little bit of money. Keep in mind, what did I learn from the shed world? I got 30,000 in deposits and went and bought a truck. These are all prepaid customers that are counting on me to deliver a door. Now, I can't start dipping, even if it's only $160 into customers' money. That is not my money. It doesn't become my money till the door ships. It is in my checking account. It is not my money. Just like sales tax, just like employee tax. Like I've been fined, I've been in huge trouble. I've sat in the division of labor. I've been chased by the the state tax commission. This is in my 20s. That's an addicting funnel. People are like, oh, I can just borrow the sales tax for just a minute. I'm going to pay it next week because Dave's going to pay me next week. And then I'll put it back in. But now we're 2 weeks behind. And then it's not due till the end of the month or the quarter. I'll just move it. And that was my guilty funnel. So here's the deal. My power's out at home. We're eating ramen with freaking peas in it or noodle or eggs, whatever, and mac and cheese with hot dogs. That's a great day. And it truly is that discipline. And you have to have a trooper at home that's willing to ride that with you, or don't have one, because literally it's not an easy ride. So they have to be bought in on not just you and the belief in you. They have to be at least, I think that matters the most, the belief that whether you win or lose, money shouldn't matter. And I think the wonderful thing about Shannon and myself is that we don't care about money. And I think when you chase money, it's like that proverbial coyote and the freaking roadrunner. You can't catch it. So if you can't catch money because the goalpost moves, set a target that makes sense. And if you hit that target, money becomes the byproduct. And so if you set a target that you love, that gets you excited, that makes it so you want to wake up, then that's a wonderful thing. Money is numb. Like, let me be honest, like Louis Vuitton made in China. Like, who gives a crap? It's just got a different print. I heard an old saying, I didn't make this up, but like, I'd rather have $6,000 in a $6 purse than a $6 in a $6,000 purse. I could care less about what I have in my checking account. What I care about is my love for the challenge. And I've realized that it's not necessarily love for the product or the job. What gets me up is when somebody says I can't do it. And it took so long for me to admit that.
Jeremy, that's what I pointed to earlier. There's a real drive, curiosity, go figure it out. I can do this. There's some real grit. There's a bunch of things in your story that are awesome. If we jump to Murphy Door today, you start it, you got modest, you finally take money. What's Murphy Door look like today?
60 million a year, like between all processes, like all the channels. So Murphy Door is like the mother company of some of my companies. So I have Murphy Door Inc. I have Murphy Door Incorporated Trucking. So we have our trucking freight lines that move our raw goods around. I've got Murphy Door Machining. So MD Machinery, which is just where we make all the hardware. So here's the great thing about Murphy Door, 100% made in the USA. So I make, to the point now that we're working on building our own panels, which is going to be awesome. I haven't ever talked about this. I'll give it to you today. So we want to build our own panels here right in the USA. And I think this could be a whole different conversation, but I make all my hinges, all my bed hardware. We make all the metal work here, right here in Utah. We do our doors, woodworking, milling, painting, staining, cabinet doors, everything in Utah and Kentucky. And we've got a third plant. I was thinking I was going to open it this year. It's not. Our efficiencies on our equipment are higher than we thought. So we're actually getting another 40% more than we thought when we automated. So we don't need to open Texas this year. It can move till first quarter of 2027, which is great. Right. So that's the funnel of Murphy Door. I got the doors, I've got the transportation, and I've got the machining. And then I have another one I can't announce yet. My whole team's sitting in the plant. We're acquiring another group. So we should have that closed up by the end of the month. This will make it so we're processing our own hardwood. Currently, all our hardwoods, you kind of choose a lane when you do woodworking. You're a panel processor or a hardwood processor. We've had our hardwoods processed and delivered to us from our wood supplier here it's still processed in Utah, but they buy it from them and bring us processed material. This will make it so we can process all the hardwoods and all sorts of different things.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, and then the sheet goods. So we're in the process of doing sheet goods. And as we know, 60% of the continental US is in a major drought. A huge percentage of Utah, Idaho's water is consumed by alfalfa. And so we found a product that we're working with a brilliant group down here in Salt Lake that invented a hemp-based MDF core and cord material that uses, I'll make up numbers here, but it's like 1/3 the water of alfalfa. So literally, the goal is to save 900,000 acre feet to the Great Salt Lake to keep that water flowing. And if we could get this into panel processing, Murphy Door alone would save about 300,000 acre feet.
That's awesome.
if we processed it ourselves. So it's awesome. And by the way, no chemicals. The resin's all is hemp. Everything's hemp. It's freaking awesome. Doesn't burn till 1700 degrees. So this is another avenue that we're looking at. I'm like, how can we change with a bigger mission than doors and saving money? It's like, how do I affect the world in a way that's not just hidden doors, but it's something that can save water, help the Great Salt Lake with a bigger mission. And by the way, I'm not green. You guys that are green, great, good for you. I cut trees down for a living, and it's not that I'm not sympathetic. I am super efficient and super effective on waste, and I'm also looking at how I can preserve water. That doesn't mean you're not green. If you're a capitalist, I swear to you, green people, you have to be green. It's just a naturally inherent relationship.
Amen. I'll jump on the capitalism works in a lot of ways. It forces you to do the right thing, and you're talking about that. And I think part of the story that you again push by is, hey, you take this thing from I'm a fireman doing this for my daughters to do a little theater room to this thing is scaled. So I want to spend a little bit of time there. Like, how did you do that? What's the
Recipe?
essence of that? Because this is the classic entrepreneurial challenge. A lot of people can start a business. A lot of people can make a dollar. It becomes, how do I scale this? How do I move to 5 million? And you've given some of that, like, don't pay yourself.
Don't
Figure
pay
out how you
yourself.
grow it.
That is
And
truly the number one secret, is using 100% of the money that it has. So I said, don't steal the milk from the baby. Like, if you come in and you're like, I'm going to quit my job today, Dave. I'm going to work for myself. You pay me 50 grand a year. I got this idea. Number one, don't start an idea that you only see $1 million daylight, because 30 years to earn with $1 million total daylight is just not enough money. That's 30 grand a year if you do the math, 33,000. So that's got to be, as dumb as this sounds, I'm not trying to discourage anyone. Come up with $100 million idea, not $1 million idea, because $1 million minus cost is 500 minus all the things. Like, you're talking about $100,000 idea over 30 years, not going to work. Shoot for $100 million idea, which is going to intimidate some. Just keep in mind there's 7 billion people on the planet. Super easy, right? There is not a business on this planet that cannot do $1 million a year minimum. And there's not one that I could still argue that can't do 10 million a year. And you're going to say the barber shop, the barbecue house, all of them have daylight to 10, and with the right operator can get to 100. Now, I've never done 100. So that is my challenge, right? I haven't broke this back. I'm working on it, and I will do it. And it's not really the objective. It's the mission that I have that's big enough that will blow past it.
so,
Let me,
go ahead.
I was going to say, and so from there, like Murphy Door, I've been fortunate enough, when you think about business, we talked about this before, but only 5% of all businesses ever break $1 million. 5%. So you're going to see 100 businesses, 5 of them will break $1 million. And if you're getting to 10 million, 0.4%. So that's 1 out of every 250 businesses. Now you think about Main Street, USA, there's not 250 businesses in Main Street, USA. There's New York, big cities. So that means that more than likely, 1 out of every 3 Main Street or 4 Main Street USAs, even probably more, will have a $10 million person. And it's just a simple mindset shift. Like, how does scale work? Getting to your question. So because I understand scale, and I was lucky enough to learn it in the Home Depot world, it's really first, what is the concept? And then, what is this? Is this enough scale? Like, I'm going to make shoelaces, obviously have a big world. Crazy thing, like Damon's best investment he's ever done is Bombas socks. Like, everybody has socks. What sets it apart? $2 billion valuation. Like, that's crazy. So you can come up with something that does it. But I would first encourage you to do what you love stuff's kind of crap. If you choose, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Yeah, well, if you take something you love, like I love making barbecue, I love it. I want to do it every Sunday. If you turn it into a job, I would not like it anymore, right? So be careful with that, because you don't want to ruin your favorite thing. I love,
And I joke, Jeremy, I go, they call it work.
I love that though. It is work. So
Yeah.
love the work. That's
Yeah.
what you have to learn to love.
Yeah.
Love the work. And
Yeah.
work is a blessing that you can do it. Like, you've got 2 feet, 2 hands,
All
even
the
if you don't,
challenge, all
it's
the pride,
awesome.
all the, all the
It gets
climb,
you up.
the journey. Yeah.
So let me tell you the Murphy Door run. So I got in there, I got the piece. I'm like, well, I have hinges. Imagine trying to sell a hardware kit to a hidden door industry that does not exist. There's no hidden door. Yeah, hidden doors have been around since the Egyptians, but they've never been marketed as a business model ever. So then I'm like, this is gonna be easy for me, Dave. Like I'm friends with all the guys at Home Depot. I'll call my old buddies. They'll pick up my hardware set. It's gonna be awesome. And I'll have the Home Depot account by Thursday. That's my thought, right? I'm like, that's how arrogant I get sometimes. Like, I got some people, they'll put me in. Well, they also love the idea. However, they said, you do realize this is a category that does not even exist. So where do I put it? Like, no one wants hidden doors, or everybody wants when no one needs it. Like, so there was kind of some weird friction. I'm like, oh no, everybody needs that. So I had to start building this category. Well, the fun thing is, if you look, 2012 is kind of Facebook's first little. I mean, they've been around a minute, but it's still free. You're getting organic growth without having to pay for it. They really weren't doing paid advertising. Well, I just started going through this is, I mean, if you have no money, what do you do? Well, there's Pinterest at a light level. It's not Pinterest today, but I'm going to find some bookcases. How do I green screen, or how do I edit pictures super, super crappy because I'm not a computer wizard? I was working at the fire department, and I was doing part-time knocking doors, selling internet, right, to help pay some other bills. I had a friend that was in the internet group that could do some CGI editing. So I said, hey, make this bookcase look like a door. So he just kind of opened it up, make it look like a door. We built this really crappy red and black website with a bunch of fake images of bookcases that looked like a door. And we just said those are doors, and we just put some stuff behind it. We'd put it in a door jam, and we'd make it look like, some CGI behind it. And why anybody ever paid me money to buy my doors when they started at $3,000 when they were fake, and you could visibly see how crappy our website is beyond me, because I had to pay 100% up front, which was another lesson from the other business, like the construction side. I can't afford to front your business, so you're paying 100% up front, which was a weird model back then. Custom furniture used to be 50% and then pay 50% on ship date. I'm like, I got to go 100%. I have no money. So this is the model. So we started that model, but I used Facebook, and I started dropping pictures, and I got to 300,000 followers really fast.
Yeah.
And then they started the model, and it shut it down. And I didn't grow Facebook for years after that, unfortunately. But that was really the drip. I started building awareness that way. There was a couple other cheat codes, like exposure. Well, people say you're lucky. Well, lucky is when preparedness meets opportunity. And some people may not know what that means because they haven't been exposed. Like, I can suggest to you, whatever you do, be out. If you're not a public persona, you better change your persona. You need to go tell everyone your story. Like, there isn't a person I don't meet that doesn't know what I do and I mean, my wife thinks I'm bragging all the time, but I want to get it out to see if they can relate, or they need me, or if I need them. And I literally, like, how you owe me kind of scenarios. I don't love you owe me people. However, I'm as blunt as this. Hey, Dave, I got some dudes for you. Will you hook me up for that? I'll give you this. It doesn't matter. This is business. Network is net worth. That's something that Grant Cardone always says, and Brandon Dawson, like, that your network is your net worth, and contracts is your cash flow, right?
I mean, Jeremy, my personal mantra with regard to that is give freely until you shouldn't. And the reason is it comes back. So,
So
you may look and go, "Hey, I want to trade and do." I go, I'm gonna start by giving, because then others will give back. There's a reciprocity in that. So,
this is really funny you say that. I like I said, I don't want to keep bringing up Damon John, but this guy, we did just a job for him. He is not an investor. He hasn't, you know what I mean? We did a big project for him and became buddies. Well, this guy's like, hey, dude, do you want to go here? Do you want to come to the, whatever show? Come over here and do a speaking. Let's chill. Let's go hang out over here. Invites me to little things. And it's been awesome. But I've watched him work. It is crazy. After the first time I met Damon John, within a month, I had a gift box on my front porch. I'm like, what's this all about? All of a sudden, I'm getting a gift box every month. I don't know this guy. I met him. We went and looked at his project. He said, cool, I get this box. And then all of a sudden, another box, Christmas present, birthday present. Kids love coconut water, cases of coconut water. I'm like, the heck is happening? And I thought I was this special guy that he had like this man crush on me. I'm just kidding. But I'm like, how come he's sending me gifts? Well, I ended up walking the show, one of these shows out there, like bar and restaurant show. He has his little phone. He's got an earpiece. He comes in. He's like, hey, Dave, how are you? What do you do? What's that? How many kids do you have? Oh, really cool. Where do you live? Hey, just met Dave Quick. He lives over here. This is the deal. Put him in my phase 1, put him in my phase 2. Well, I go, what does that mean? And he was just telling ChatGPT kind of all the stuff about you. Takes a picture of your business card. It loads it. All of a sudden, you're in the gift box. And so I watched him. I says, what is that all about? I said, dude, you met 100 people today. 100 people. And every one of those are getting boxes. He goes, oh, yeah, for like whatever. And I go, times all the days? You're on the road 250 days, times all the days? He goes, 100%. I'm like, what? I go, dude. So finally we were at dinner. I'm like, D, hey, got a question, man. Does that work? Like, you're investing not just thousands, but I'm assuming these are beautiful boxes, dude. Like made with his branding. Like, is it worth it? He goes, tenfold. Give before you ask of anything for anyone. He goes, that is the best investment I do. Not only have I not thought about not doing it, I'm figuring out ways how to increase it. So Dave, you nailed it. And I've been able to see a little bit more of it. And you meet some really good entrepreneurs that send a thank you card for your time kind of thing that's handwritten, which is really awesome. I've tried to get into that thing. I'm not great at it, trying to figure out how to organize my time, but back to scale on the Murphy door side. I think that matters, but shouting from the pulpit, and you have to be at least brave enough to shout from the pulpit or not care. Cause I can tell you that people don't care. They're going to listen to you. They're going to say, I had this weird dude that the first thing he did is he said he did that and he's super passionate about it. So if you can't sell them on your product, guess what you sell them on? Your passion. They're like, I don't know, but I liked him. That guy, he's just so happy about that new comb he invented. I can't even freaking, I want to buy the comb, dude, just because I love how excited you are about it.
Yeah, and
So, I mean,
I'll tell someone else, "I met this guy."
yep, that's how it worked. And so, but let me tell you my cheat codes. I did a trade show. HGTV came in, DIY Scripts Network, and they said, "Hey, man, I love it. You know, we want this for us." Now, I want to keep in mind I had one door. This is a door, trifolds, $5,500 booth, everything I possibly had in my life. Me and my wife just open and closing the door. Everybody's like, "I want one for my house," which is not what I wanted. I'm trying to sign accounts, contractors, all this stuff. I had another unique lady. She goes, "Hey, just so you know, this was Susan Lee." She said, "Trade shows are perception is reality. So if you put a single door with trifold brochures, you're a single door builder that has only money to work for one person. So next year, if you want to be something that attracts big companies, this is the only time you're going to get the chances, these kind of shows. Put together a presentation that makes people feel that you can handle the workflow because they're nervous about who they're working with. And this will not get you big orders. This will get you one." So at the same time, I told her, she goes, "Hey, I want to do this." She was trying to sell me commercials on DIY Network. I said, "Hey, dude, listen, Susan, I'm a fire guy. I make $760 every 2 weeks. This is everything I have plus more because I put this on my Amex that's due in 30 days. Like, this is more than I can afford. There's no way we can talk about a $250,000 advertising campaign on IGTV. I'm a firefighter with no money." She goes, "Oh, sweetheart, I got you." I go, "What's that?" She goes, "Watch this." She calls over. I mean, this isn't the same day, but by the end of the show, DIY I Want That series. She does a whole episode on DIY I Want that was launched from IBS. So there's a bunch of different products that come in on I Want That. And we were chosen to be one of them because I just said, "Hey, look, I'm a firefighter and I'm broke. There's no way I'm going to do your advertising this way." So this is one of those almost bankrupt scenarios where I had charged up my credit card on the doors, the hotel, or the trade show booth, the hotel. And fortunately, that thing kicked quickly after the IBS show, right? That little episode's not, it's raw, right? So there's a little bit of editing. They push it out really fast. Well, when my credit card was due the 9th, they shut it off like no more credit the 15th. And I was on the 14th and I knew the 15th was lockdown day. Like I'm way past trouble time. Like, by the way, that's like long side. I'm already late. Well, DIY I Want That airs that night. I owe 9,000 some odd dollars to Amex. I have $0 in my name, credit card that's not charging anymore, that I need to get paid so they don't cancel the credit card. DIY airs that. I sold just over $9,000 on that episode. Paid my credit card, still broke, but I had a 30-day working leash. So then I had 30 more days. But I mean, literally, those are the kind of risks I take, and I take those risks without thinking about it. Like I do calculated risks in the sense like, okay, it's $9,000. It takes 3 doors to sell those. What am I going to get? So I think the scalability, when I say we got sidetracked on be out there and luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. It's because I'm pounding doors. I'm constantly out. I fly and travel a lot. I try to meet as many people as I can. I don't pretend. I act broke in hunger. I don't act broke in finances, but I'm hungry enough. And here's where I'm broke at. I have big long-term goals. I have a 2034 vision. I have a 2030 vision. I have a 2027 vision, right? So, and then of course we have a 2026 goal. So I have my long-term goal and benchmarks along the way,
And
right?
Jeremy, are you using something for that? You're referencing that. Are you using like scaling up, traction, or you're just
I've got
putting
the traction
that?
series. No, I have about a 16-foot glass conference table with hardwood on the bottom and a dry erase marker. And
Right.
then, so
So
we
this is
drew it out
just
on the
your
board.
this is just your planning, which is, hey, end in mind.
No,
This is
I
where I'm going.
hired I hired a company to come in and platform our brand, and then we put together, this is my mission. Is this real? Yes, verified, real, accurate. You can't do this if this, then that, right?
Perfect.
So I spent $1.5 million, which I know people are like, well, I don't have $1.5 million. You can do it way less than that. I had a big team, big goals. I mean, we're talking about how do you get to 1 billion, right? So it's a different play. So I wanted to invest the money. So don't let the number scare you. It's relative to the size of your business.
Yeah, no,
So
and
you can
the
do,
reason I'm a firm believer in that, like this business process of where are we going, and I think your team needs it. Like, what's the vision of future? Am I
yep,
inspiring people to believe in that? Is this real? And then we're taking action toward it in granular fashion. Like, well, and you've already said, like in 26, we got to do this, and
yep,
it informs like, well, we're on a journey to the. I call it to the top of the mountain. Well,
yep, me too.
we got to start climbing. Yeah, we got to, and what is the first peak we're trying to get to? What does that look
Yep.
like?
What does that look like? What's your benchmark? Where are you going
Yep,
to take a nap? Where are you going to sit down on a log? So
perfect.
here's the funny part. Like, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, where do we go? When we start a business, what's the first thing we do? We go to the state, get a tax ID, get our EIN, we go get our paperwork. What insurance policy do we get? And where else do we go? The bank. We have to open a bank account. I don't mean to be mean to bankers, but they're just bankers and they're not that smart. They have rules. It's not that they're not smart as humans. They're following an algorithm that's super conservative. They're not business people. They understand financials. Don't tell bankers. And I love you, Robert Bischoff. He's the VP of Zions Bank. We've been friends forever. We have our conflict, but we hang out and do barbecue. But we just think each of us are both as dumb as one another, which is an awesome relationship. I love
Yeah,
the guy to death.
yeah.
But they'll advise you like, hey, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, right? They're always on the contra because they want to be conservative. I told him, I says, hey, look, I drive by day so I can hit my week. I hit my week so I can hit my month. I hit my month so I can hit my quarter. I hit my quarter so I can hit my half year. And then I hit my half year to hit my year. And if I don't do my day, then I'm going to lose track. He goes, dude, do not do your math on a daily basis. You'll go crazy. He goes, this needs to be monthly, quarterly at the most. And I'm like, I totally disagree with you because if I do it on the month and I miss the month, I'm going to miss my quarter, especially if I blew the quarter. So if I'm going to steer and I'd rather do 1 degree corrections than a 30-degree correction in
Well,
30
I'm with
days.
you. It starts with what I call a weekly metric that then I have to do daily. Like,
Yeah.
I've prayed for organizations, "Did you win the week?"
Did you
It
win
it
the week?
and I have a bunch of people like, "Well, to win the week, I gotta crush Monday."
You got to crush Monday, Tuesday, and then you got to think about how do I crush my hours? And I'm super. One thing I've learned in 30 years of being self-employed, well, with some other jobs in the middle, so is that I am very, very stress driven. That I let my plate get so full, and when I get a full plate that's super stressful, is I'm a murderer when it comes to that. I will slaughter freaking stress.
Yeah,
I know
awesome.
how to suppress it. But here's the deal: if I don't have stress, dude, I'm taking a nap, fishing, doing whatever. Like, but once the stress is in, like I'm in executioner mode, I just am trying to teach myself how to be able to do that without having to get to the stress plate, which
So,
I'm doing better, by the way. I'm doing a
so
lot better.
at some point, you realize in this scale, and you've lived through it, so I'm just curious your view of it. Like, well, I need a collection of really good people. This isn't just Jeremy. I need people that are better than me on a lot of things, and that's a tough transition for some entrepreneurs. Like, no, I need a high performing team here. And the way I joke it is I need a first baseman that can catch.
Right.
I need a really good shortstop. I need
That's a
a
great
really
example. Yeah, the pitcher can't play catcher, right? So, and I think that's the same scenario. Like I have an awesome team. That being said, you have to always challenge awesomeness. And what I mean by that is on Monday, I have had a rough couple 2 weeks for my Monday meetings where I bring all my directors and executives together. And I've missed a lot of them this year because I've been on the road, but I told them, I said, hey, look, this was last Monday. I said, my goal for Murphy Door, personal goal, and this is hard when you're talking about a company that has 125 people, is to be a company of one person. So my objective is to become so efficient that it's just me. Now, there's non-reality here, but that's my mission. Now, I want to do $1 billion by myself, manufacturing in the United States. It's not a real mission. However, what we need to look at is, where do we lean? Where is the inefficiencies? What can I cut before we grow? Like, what is the things that, even Elon says that a lot. I don't know his 4 steps, but I'm like, look, my goal is to be able to take this whole executive team and be able to run everything by myself, for myself, and save millions of dollars in payroll. And they're like, oh, that's scary. I'm like, well, no, here's the goal. Your job is to show me how I can't live without you. Like, everybody's afraid of AI. AI will not replace all your people. AI will micromanage your people. It will call them to order. It will make sure that they're getting tasks done. It will tattletale, but it will not replace all. Now, but it will replace some, just so you
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
It
and
will replace some.
this is technology since the beginning of time. Everyone gets paranoid about it, and rightly so, because of the pace of growth, what's happened in our lifetime in terms of technology adoption and speed. I go, but this is fire. This was the caveman looking at fire going, "Holy smokes, man. What is this?" This was the
Yeah.
car.
The wheel,
I
the
mean,
wheel.
literally, yeah. I mean, you go
Yeah.
through the whole history of,
Think
like,
about the wheel in the cart, like what
doomsday.
used to take a wheel in a cart, just the wheel. There was 10 people that used to carry something that one dude in a cart could do. Oh, great. Well, now that Dave made the wheel, now we're not having anything to carry. That's great. Thanks, Dave. Like, it's the same process. But so I told my team, look, your goal is to figure out how to use the tools that are available to us to be able to just show how come you're so important in your role. So I stress you guys that when you come to work, you have a way to bring your own agent. Like, here's my agent. Here's how I built my AI to hyper scale my team. Like, I think you either change your top line or you downsize your head count. Like, so in order to make sure we have team growth and revenue growth, you need to change the top line and then show efficiencies on how to do that. That's your goal. My goal on the other side is to look at the whole funnel on, see, how do I get to one? You're trying to say, hey, how do I preserve? So literally, like, Dave, you're over marketing. You have 3 people under marketing. Your goal is to show how you can just be the only guy over marketing. Hey, the 3 under you, your goal is to show Dave how you can't do without it, because you're doing the work of 9 people with 3 people. Dave's saying, hey, I can, you know what I mean? Like, you guys just, this is where everybody's afraid of getting fired. You're going to get fired if you don't learn. Not for me, but I'm just talking about the workforce in general. You better get your stuff in a pile and learn this stuff.
Well, and Jeremy, we had this conversation the other day. I had a group of, I think, 14 CEOs, and we were all talking about this topic. And what we discussed there, and there was somebody shared a great story. It's the curious person that does this. There's plenty who aren't, and it's you with hinges. It's you with whatever. And this guy talked about, had a kid. He goes, 22 years old. He starts to dabble with Claude, looking at AutoCAD and programming AutoCAD. And he goes, in one moment, he's like, holy shit, I just rewrote the software that AutoCAD's selling us. And then in the next moment, I just eliminated my job. And he shared that conversation where this kid was excited for a moment and then shaking visibly, terrified. And, this guy's like, you have no worry. If you keep thinking like this and doing what you did right
You're
there.
fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and they're now, he joked, he goes, we're now on version 17 of that software.
Sure. So,
This
what's
is,
funny
this
is
is real.
I've only slept, like, it's funny, you see all these Instagram posts where the wife's like, how do you get your husband to come to bed? And she dresses up in a Claude outfit. I mean, like, and it's pretty funny. She sticks her leg out the door, jams. She's like, hey, baby. And then she goes, I figured out how to get to my husband to bed. She walks around the corner and she's hanging a Mac thing over there and it says Claude
There
on
you
her.
go. Yeah.
I'm like, that is my deal. So for the last month, I've been averaging like 3.5 to 4 hours of sleep. And it's like my curiosity side. So I have about 50 projects and I'm using Gemini, Perplexity, Claude AI, ChatGPT, Notion. Like, I'm trying to use all the different groups and they all have their unique perspectives. And by the way, you guys, zero computer. I'm a zero computer guy. Like, I'm really good at checking my email and looking at the Shopify account, and I can do, the basics, Facebook and whatever. But I'm like, look, if I don't grab and wrap my head around this thing, I'm going to get wiped out. Like, this is the goal, is wipe me out. And my goal is to wipe me out. So let's see how I do this. So I spent a ton of time on YouTube just trying to understand it. I got ChatGPT about a year and a half ago or something. It was question answer use. I'm like, okay, how do I do it different? How do I prompt different? How do I do this? Well, over the last little bit, um, I've I've created all sorts of different things. It's been really good for our business, by the way. But what was really unique is when you're using all these chats and all these different systems, not just, like Perplexity and Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini. You have projects that go, you have like projects creep, and then all of a sudden you have 50 projects and they've got 50, sub projects. And I'm like, I don't know where it is. Like I have some really cool stuff going down. I don't even know where to find the folder. I went to have a meeting with my factory last night and it's like, hey, we need to work on efficiencies. I found that you're overstaffed by here and here by taking 189 weeks of data, digesting the whole folder. I'm like, look at the optimal staffing. Here it is. Like, this is the stuff that I was able to digest using the right tools. I couldn't find it.
Hmm.
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the work that I did. It was inside this giant machine. So what did I do? This is the best thing ever. I went home last night and I stayed up all night to try to figure out how to find this thing. I did find it pretty quick, but I'm like, this has got to be a normal problem. So I can't be the only one suffering this. So I created this thing called Focus Point. And what this does is it pulls all your products or all your projects in all apps that you have rolling in all AIs. So that way it summarizes all your jobs
Cool.
in every AI. So it scrubs, it says, these are all the tasks. This is, so it's red, yellow, green, go do it. So I just like, here, but like you said, I created an app that'll mine all the projects, tell you what's open, what's waiting on you, when it's complete, mark complete. So I have like this task list, but I've looked everywhere. I'm like, is there a task manager to run and see all AI projects I'm going across multiple platforms? There wasn't any. So I'm like, I could have this done by tonight. It's a super simple dashboard.
Well, this may be kind of in the, and we'll start moving toward kind of wrapping, but as you think about your business and go next stage of growth, because you've talked about, hey, I want to be $1 billion business. I'm growing toward that. Um, you
So
want
do
to
you
get
know why
your,
I chose $1 billion business? By the way, everything I thought you said it's not about money, and it isn't. Happens to be, I said, I just know that Murphy Door will get to 1,000,000 doors a year. 1,000,000 doors is not a lot of doors. When you think about the scale, like it's 7.5 billion people, there's 3.5 million in Salt Lake. If I built a door, 1,000,000 doors, it'd take me 3.5 years just to do Salt Lake. What does California look like? Like I'm talking a whole lifetime. And that right there, 1,000,000 doors, by the way, is 2.8 billion. So the number I went through is like, how do I get to 300,000?
awesome.
All I
So,
needed is that.
so there's rationale about it. And what needs to change with you and the company to make that happen?
What needs to happen? What needs to
What
change?
needs to change for that to happen? There may not be much, or it may be like, yeah, I need this, I need that. And what
It's
comes
it's
to mind?
actually pretty simple. So that's part of that $1.5 million scale or span that I put. So I platformed it to understand it to see if I was correct. Well, I do not want to do hub and spoke. I don't want a massive manufacturing facility due to freight. We spend more. Customers don't get it. Like they're like, your doors are expensive. I spend more on freight than wood, and we're a wood company. So when you buy they're like, dude, your freight's $900. Dude, our freight is a zero margin line. We make no money. My logistics department is literally not included in the freight costs. So I said, look, I'm going to do micro manufacturing. I want sub 50,000 square feet in 20 different locations around the country near my geographic demographic customer. So geographically, where do they sit? They need to be within a half a day freight lane of the 90% of my customer base, which then makes me hyper focus the inventory that I need inside that factory where it's just regional. We all know that woods and tastes are regional, right? Like even clothes and cars and everything have different colors depending on where you're at. So I'm like, I want micro manufacturing. In order to scale to that, I know what the maximum throughput in a 50,000 square foot manufacturing facility is on a 2-shift basis. I know what we can do, at least with current technology. I can't speak for what's going to be around the corner, but for right now. So I know that it's going to take me I'm going to need 20 locations within my demographic and geographical areas. I need to be able to have showroom and distribution from each one of those that include installers to each, because that's our friction point. As soon as I can execute those 20 factories, which by the way, when I bought the property in Lexington, Kentucky, it was 22 acres to put in a 400,000 square, excuse me, it was 250,000 square foot building, $44 million. Well, my average factory right now is costing roughly 5. in equipment that we've got it. We spent 8, we learned what we didn't need, and we're going to be about 5 million, just under $5 million to build a plant out. So I can do 8 factories that can put the output in that the same cost as that $44 million factory was going to be, to do full automation, right? This was like almost manless. Again, people have to run equipment, but it was almost manless. And I thought to myself, look, I went to Germany. When I say I go everywhere, I searched all of Portugal, Spain, France, Germany. I reached out to cabinet manufacturers because they're really good at automation. And I went and asked them if I could tour their plants. And I toured all over Europe to look at the most. I went to Louis Vuitton's factory, like who's making your cases? And can I go there and see how they do high end? And by the way, they let you in. You can come to my factory anytime you want. Anybody that listens to this, just say, hey, can we tour your factory? How do you do something? I will teach you how to make hidden doors. I am not afraid of training you how to do it. However, you need to be curious. So I thought, look, one kid, 35-year-old kid that was managing that line, I said, dude, how does it feel to have nobody on the line other than these tower watchers that are watching how this machine, like up, down, or is it green, yellow, red? Like this is broken, needs something, and this one's working fine. He goes, oh, be careful what you can't see. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you may see 55 people on this floor. They were doing 350 kitchens a day. Keep in mind, average kitchen's 12 to 20 boxes. So do the multiple on how many boxes they're doing a day with no human input, assembly, knobs, rails, everything. Like people were just watching the robots work. It was impressive. The boxes that get put on the floor, transported to the truck. The trucks were loaded by robots. Nobody. And the factory line was planned by what was shipping first that day. And then it starts at the back all the way forward. That's what planned the factory. So I'm like, man, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want. So I'd already bought the property. I was figuring out how to do the plan and to see which one I wanted to follow. When I came back, one kid, German kid says, oh, be careful what you can't see. And I said, why? He goes, there's 250 people sitting in that tower to program this equipment. So the 250 people that we took off the floor are up there. They're higher paid, harder to find, harder to get to manage the equipment. He said, even worse. He goes, what happens? And this was the irony when I was sitting there and what made me make the decision to just back out and sell the stuff is he goes, one bearing, one laser, one beam, one lens gets covered, dusty, stick falls in the way. Within 4 minutes, this whole factory floor is shut down. The whole factory line, because it's all in line.
Yeah.
Right then, a board fell off a forklift. It was sitting in robotic forklift, robotic trucks, right? They're just going around the factory, blue lights. They're driving around crazy. And you're like, there's nobody in them. A board bounced. It shut the line down. And I watched everything just move. They couldn't figure out where, because now they have to figure out what
Where it
shut the
was.
line
Yeah.
down. So the whole line shut down. He goes, this happens all day. He said, so we have people on black bicycles with this little tool bin in the front that are riding the floor, chasing the downs. He goes, it's easier to find a person doing this with a sander than it is to find the laser, the bearing, the elastic, the band on the conveyor in this huge, there's like almost 1 million square feet, if I recall. It's Heckler is the name of the company, Heckler in Germany. And I'm like, okay, this is bigger than I'm thinking. But at the same time, he goes, imagine the floor conveyance that you're watching the floor move and bifurcate to go to different locations. He goes, literally a board, literally a sliver, literally something, a bearing gone out, a band goes off. He goes, this whole son of a gun goes down. He goes, give me the shop that's hybrided. And I'm like, I got on the plane. I called Luther Deaton at Central Bank in Kentucky. He owns the central bank stuff, or he's the CEO. I said, hey, Luther, I know we've spent 7 months building this deal, and I am sorry, but I can't do it. And he goes, why? And I says, because I don't know how, and I don't want to learn. And I don't want to put your money at risk, and I don't want to put my effort at risk. And he said, which was something really unique. He goes, Jeremy, in all my years of banking, I have never had a CEO call and say he doesn't know how to do it and he doesn't want to do it and he's going to back out of debt. They always blame the economy, the team, the this, the that. He goes, anytime you need to bank, you call me.
Yeah. Awesome.
So to answer your question, it's going to take 20 factories in all the different states. The volume that we have currently is enough to hit at least that in traffic that comes to our website. We are terrible at converting. So our conversion rate is 0.18. So a normal website like ours should convert at point one, or excuse me, 1 to 2%. Like I talked to the founder and CEO, I don't want to drop his name, of Priceline. He said they don't do anything that's 2 to 4. Like when he buys companies, optimizes them to get to 2 to 4% conversion rate. We're at 0.18, and we know why. Like we understand the why. Like we have a ton of friction, no returns. You order it, it's custom, it's for rich people. We don't do install. We do driveway delivery. We don't do white glove. We don't have services. Like it is a very high end product. I mean, you could spend $1 million if you want, right, with us. And when you say, "Hey, Dave, thanks for the $500,000, appreciate it. Good luck.
Yeah.
Have fun
So
trying to figure out the puzzle," right?
yeah.
Because we don't do the install. We gave you the plan, we gave you the boxes, and you're sitting here with a semi truckload of stuff. Like we would sell way more if we had teams. So we've been in the process of planning that since 2020, uh, end of 24, October of 24. So we came out with Mission 27. I flew every single person in from our company around the country with their spouses. And we released our packet that's 2027, Mission 27, which is 109 million, which is really hard to go from 60 to 109. But the puzzle pieces are lying in place to execute. We know
So
what we have to do.
you've already defined kind of the milestone out in front of you. But if I said 2 years from now, what looks like success for you? What would you say?
Oh, yeah, that's easy. So I've got Dallas Plano open. I've got the Southern Florida location open. I've got Bethlehem, Pennsylvania open. And I've got the new one being started it's going to be Wisconsin-ish, Michigan-ish. We haven't identified that one because it kind of goes back and forth. We're chasing population, and the cells in those two cities are not the same. Chicago's the biggest, obviously, but we're trying to push this. And I'm using a diamond pattern. So I'm like, hey, look, if I can triangulate the country first, then diamond pattern using Home Depot. So I don't know if you guys know this, but within 10 radius miles, you'll get to a Home Depot. So how they mapped it is they drop a city, then they go drop another one, and then they say, hey, and it's further out, and they cannibalize themselves by putting one in the middle. They've realized they can only get so much throughput, inventory in, export out of one store. They can't get that much volume. They can't just expect it to do 25 million. Like they can't. It just doesn't have the throughput capacity. Even though it doesn't make sense. So they end up cannibalizing. I'm like, okay, so how do I do that with factory? And then how does that look? And what would that do for efficiencies and effectiveness? And then what can I do for the consumer? At the same time, how do I use a factory with a showroom and install team? Well, how do I remove the friction so these guys aren't as concerned? And by the way, Murphy Door isn't Murphy Door. In 2 years from now, Murphy is Murphy Living because we have armoires, nightstands, dressers, cabinets. I mean, we can do what you want, where you want, when you want, build anything that you have in panel processing and hardwood processing for your house and get it out in 30 days, like in its fully customized product. My goal is within the end of 27, we will have a 2-week lead time on the customer base that we're serving. By the 2030 date, we'll be doing 3 days, which it takes from order in to order out of the factory 3 days. And then hopefully you have it within your, depending on freight, but if we've executed it correctly, you should see it in under 7 days. That's literally populating everything you may want: a bed, a nightstand, an armoire, a dresser, a bathroom vanity, and your kitchen cabinets, leaving our factory within 3 days.
And
That's
today,
the goal.
Jeremy, that would be how long?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
We're currently at 2 weeks. It is what it is. So I've got to, it's always this balance of how many people does it, what's more important? Is speed more important, or is revenue per employee important, which with net fall off? So I always push for 3 days because that's my mission. But you also have to be profitable. So you don't want a bunch of Maytag men sitting at the end of the line, which people may not remember the Maytag guy waiting
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you want one or two, right? You
Yeah.
don't need 10. So if you have too much headcount, then you're not efficient. So we figure that out by using revenue per employee on the factory floor. What's the necessary output for revenue per employee? Now be careful. You can have $4,000 revenue per employee, but only have one person. You're still not hitting your 80,000 requirement. So you got to be careful of knowing what's your minimum revenue per day that you need per plant to make sure you're covering your SG&As and your total expenses. So people, that's like your capital, your rent, your power, your payrolls, your insurance.
So, Jeremy, at the end of this conversation, I'm struck with, and this started with, I'm building a little ticket counter in my garage or in my theater room. Um, if you had to give one last piece of advice to entrepreneurs that are contemplating in the midst of this journey, trying to grow and scale, trying to find success?
So
What would you
there's a couple different spaces that your head that question takes you. One is the guy ready to start. I'm gonna get you nowhere. And I get tired of meeting with the I'm gonna guys, and a lot of firefighters are I'm gonna. And I bless their hearts, like, because they are very conservative. They don't have a whole lot of money. They have to be very calculated and planned. But I'm gonna doesn't get you anywhere. Like, I'm doing, give me advice. Like, just try it. There's nothing wrong with failure. We've all failed a test. We've all failed this. Like, it is not embarrassing. It is for some, but for me,
so,
it's like, it's a lesson learned. What's that?
Jeremy, I always look at this and it's funny because I always talk about this and I have 4 sons, so I push them in the same way, which is it's just certain for now. Like, go do it with certainty. And I go, but you can always change it. But if you don't have, and it's funny because you've shared this, if you don't have some level of certainty, like I'm going to go commit to this and do it, you've heard burn the ships or whatever. I mean, literally, it's like you got to go commit and do, and do is the secret because you'll make mistakes, course correct, all the stuff you said. But if you're just contemplating one day I'm gonna, then you never will.
When I got to see the opportunity, I had a complete yin and yang parents. My dad worked for the man kind of thing his whole life. My mom never worked for the man. My mom worked her ass off. My dad's funny because, we didn't have a relationship for a long, long time. And we're finally putting together. He's 80, but it was 30 years. Like I had this, I'm never going to be my dad. And because he, at least in my eyes, I felt like he was lazy. And I watched my mom work really hard. And I was sitting with my dad the other day and he says, you know what? He goes, you remind me of me. He goes, you're a workaholic. You're the hardest. Like he goes, you're just a never quit guy. I go, and I'm a dick because I'm like, I'm actually the total polar opposite of you, Dad. Like my objective in my life was to never be you, ever. And that didn't go over well, but I'm not going to be putting lipstick on a pig. Like you are the man that I emulated to be the opposite of. Like I don't lay down for 7 years because I'm sad. Like I lay down for 7 minutes when I'm sad and then I get to work. But for those that are thinking number one, just start. Like it's a test. If you don't know, just go, just do it. Learn the lesson. Don't put a bunch of money in it out the gate. Just learn, do the best you can for free stuff. You guys are in a whole different space than we were when we started. You got Instagram, you got social, you can go viral, you can do all the stuff that helps you at least get opinion. Like even if you're not selling anything, give feedback. Does it get attention? What's virality? Well, I'll tell you what, if you're getting 100, 200 likes on something that's non-existent, that's a pretty good viral thing. Like we think viral's 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, but at least there's 100 to 200 people that like it. So there's a test model. Then you can kick.
Build it and sell it. See if anyone pulls out their credit card to pay for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kick up a live sell. Like there's all sorts of opportunities, but don't set false expectations. Like everybody wants it to happen fast. It does not happen fast. There's no such thing. The reason you hear so much of it is because that one guy that did it, I don't know, Mr. Beast or whatever, that wasn't an overnight thing. Did he become a billionaire really young? Sure, he started really young. It's still a big, long tail. Like, and then you hear these people, I posted an ad, I did this and made $1 million. Okay, but do they know how to make the next? Do they know how to do the next? They may. I'm not saying they don't know. I'm just saying that sometimes we get lucky. Don't emulate yourself because more than likely we all know, well, I'm just not that lucky guy. So then if we're not the lucky guy, we have to create our own luck. So be ready. Preparedness, you're going to be ready when the opportunity happens, and then that's where your luck will occur. But you can never get to that space with being in the I'm gonna stage. Right. And never set your expectation for your deliverable by revenue. Like saying, hey, look, if I get to 100 grand, then I'm successful. Like truly, we ought to set that down. Like if I can sell this, I'm successful. One product, that's success one. And then go love the negative feedback. Go love that part. Go get it and say, what? Oh, it breaks our heart. It's like calling our kid ugly, right? When somebody says they don't like their thing, like it's my baby. How do you hate that? But just love the negative. And then you can make this thing with constant correction into something that's better. And then you make this constant improvement every day and you take stuff off that doesn't need to be there, put stuff on that does, change the messaging. If you've mismessaged or misled somebody, it's not your fault, not shame on you. Like we're just starting. Let's get our messaging correct. Let's get our promises right. Let's get our our deliverable and delivery time correct. Like we don't know until we just throw stuff up on the wall. At least I don't. I'm not Mr. Pre-math guy. I'm like, I don't know, test and fail. Fail doesn't scare me, but we will make it right with our customer, even if it costs us more than we made from them.
Awesome.
So,
If listeners want to find more about you, Murphy Door, where should they go?
absolutely. So I'm on Instagram at the real Jeremy Barker. I've also got a book called Founder Fallout, by the way. So if you're thinking about starting a business, it's called Founder Fallout. You'll go in, it's the 100 questions to ask you and your partner to get together before you get married. It's funny, I let my Uncle Dave read it. He was one of the directors of Lockheed Martin. He goes, I probably should have read that book before I got married. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what marriage, he goes, the worst part about a partnership, Dave, is that we know we're ending in divorce, no matter what. That's a fact. Like whether it's by death or not, there is a divorce that occurs. So what happens with the business if you die before the other or vice versa? So these are like, it's a simple thing. I haven't had a whole lot of partnerships myself. I've had a couple, but I've seen a lot of friends have these issues. So I'm like, look, you guys need to ask the right questions. Like if you want to have this be a legacy business you want to give to your kid and he's looking for an exit at 5 years, like you, that's probably it's not that it's the wrong relationship, but the expectation at 5 years when you want to exit, the transaction needs to be calculated. So I did that one. I've got LinkedIn on Jeremy Barker as Murphy Door. It's at Murphy Door. You got murphydoor.com. Like we want to hear your feedback. We'd love to do projects for you. And if you have questions, always feel free. I do my best to respond. And yes, on Instagram and those things, you're going to get a mini chat. Like, cool. Hey, let's hear more. I do try to read through it. I have a team that gives it to me and they'll send me ones that are like uniquely asking questions. And so it does take me a couple days to get back.
Awesome. Jeremy, unbelievable story. Really appreciate your candidness, willing to share. There was a lot today that was just awesome. And I really appreciate your time.
I always feel like I talk too much, but it's so exciting to me. Like I love the back and forth. It gets my brain engaged to what do I want to do today? What does the rest of my day look like? Like, oh, hey, I just indicated something else I can do. I might just wipe today and go figure out this math piece. But thank you so much for having me on and giving me the opportunity to share. Hopefully people get out there and go learn some more. Like this is something that's fun to do. It's not for everyone though, too. Like it's okay if you don't want to work for yourself or you don't think you can do it. That's great. We need you too. Like we need you over here so you can help build our dreams through your and build your dreams through ours. Like we're happy with that. Don't think that that's the only solution. It,
Yeah.
it's not for everyone.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks again. Take
Thank you.
care.
Have a great one. Yeah, appreciate you, Dave.